Thanks for tuning into the Carry On podcast. Here's your host, Bryce and Kevin.
Welcome back to the Carry On podcast. My name is Bryce, and with me as always is Kevin, and I messed up the intro again, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll never figure this out, and it'll be funny.
Hey, it's me. I'm Kevin.
Definitely. How are you, Kevin? What are we talking about?
Well,
who do we have?
Oh, we have a guest.
We do? Hello, guest. How are you, guest?
Have a guest.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So we have the Tactical Baofeng from the Instagrams on our podcast from after many a moon. Finally,
I know we've almost crossed paths several times doing this, but
I know
finally here.
We've talked a number of times, but the stars never really align.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're in college constantly and trying to finish up your degree. So
that is absolutely true. So it looks like we got to we have that availability as we are currently talking, and we were going to talk, and we've been kind of talking back and forth here and there about bolt actions, and if any regular listeners have heard, I don't know if they know, but I may have bought one of those recently.
You bought a bolt action?
I may have done.
Or did you trade for a bolt action?
I acquired a bolt action. Now we're talking to somebody else who is also kind of been looking into that world, and I guess we can talk about kind of what our steps have been. And everybody's heard my reason and my rationale. What kind of led you into this? What kind of precipitated your interest into not semi-automatic cool guy black assault rifles?
Well, I worked at a gun range for like 3 years or something like that. And everyone had cool guy ARs and stuff, but I was out in Utah, and a couple of my buddies were getting into long range precision, 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRCs, that kind of stuff. And so I decided I wanted to build one, but I wanted to be weird. And so I ended up building a 243 Winchester was my first one. It was between that or 6.5 Creedmoor, but 243 ammo is a lot cheaper. And if you're hand loading, you're getting nearly the same performance.
243 is actually the first rifle I think I ever shot. I've shot a lot of coyotes with 243.
And that was kind of my main idea when I first started it was coyotes, deer, small game. It's great for all of that without being too much for pretty much anything. And now that's my wife's gun. She decided that she really wants it.
I love that. So before I let you get too far into this, I realize I'm a terrible host. I'm not good at this. Let's introduce you real quickly. Other than the Tactical Baofeng and Instagram, let's get a 2-second. Who are you? What do you release on Instagram other than what might be in your name? Give me a spiel and then go back to your thing.
A spiel.
Real quick spiel. I post comms content mostly. Recently, I've been getting into more of like the general tech side of things. So I recently just did one on some of the hacker tools, some of like the Ponagachis and
like the flippers and stuff like that.
The flipper, yeah, I haven't gotten into flippers yet. Just call me Coco. That's his name. Some of his firmware for some of the ESP32 devices, which are basic Wi-Fi devices that have cracked firmware, so you can build all sorts of fun hacker-ish tools into them. I've been recently getting into those. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. My last post, I believe, was actually on cryptography, which is what I'm focusing on for my degree. So I've been doing a little bit more with that. We talked about steganography, which is really cool. And I plan on doing more posts on that coming up here now that we're in the summer and the semester's over.
Nice.
But let's go back to bolt actions, 6.5 PRC, wife's 243, coyotes. Where are we going?
Modularity of it.
We're actually going to go in a totally different direction here in a minute. But when I started on that journey, what kind of prompted me with this was your guys' last episode, talking about the truck guns and how many options there are with ARs and stuff. And I messaged you guys and we talked about how customizable ARs are, but also how way more customizable bolt actions are. Because people usually think, okay, you pick the action, you pick the barrel, you pick the chassis, boom, you're done. And you can definitely make it that simple. But at the same time, you can dig into it with not much effort.
Yeah,
And
that's a very great description of it, but it's so deep. It's pretty crazy.
I'm already lost.
Where'd we lose you, Kevin? Because I'm sure that some of the audience also is lost.
Well, you lost me right after action, stock, and scope.
So I guess we can kind of go into bolt actions just really quickly, very surface level. When you look at an AR-15, most people, when they go to the store, they want a Smith & Wesson, or they want a Colt, or they want a Ruger. When you're buying a precision rifle, or like you're looking at competitors, especially like PRS guys, they didn't go to a store and buy some of them maybe did. I don't know. Most of them probably aren't. They're probably going online, or they're probably sponsored by an action company, so they have an action. And then, like, that's just a means to sling bullets. So it's then they have a barrel company, but the barrels are consumable, so they're like tires. Like, it's just, this has X amount of bullets it can take out of it, and then you rip that out and then you put another one on, unless you change calibers, or if you're changing like NRL Hunter, or if you're doing PRS, or if you're doing like different calibers for different things. So the barrel is not, it's not like how you would treat it on a different, like on a handgun. I mean, well, I guess it kind of is, but it's less about that. And then it's like a chassis. So it's not like I have like a Massa, or I have like an ACR versus an AR-15. It's, I like this kind of chassis from this manufacturer, or I like this stock angle, or I like this grip angle, and I like this grip weight, and I like that. Like, it's so incredibly deep. And it's like, I like this bolt angle, I like this kind of bolt lift weight, I like this bolt knob. I like
that's a lot.
Yeah.
You can take that
And that's
chassis
not even
idea
talking
one
about
step
feeding.
further.
Oh, yeah.
Because now with how customizable ARs are, the chassis take AR parts now. And so now they're even more customizable than they were before. Because now you have stuff with modular forends. So if you need your, like you said, an NRL Hunter setup that's going to weigh, or not NRL Hunter, like a PRS setup that's going to weigh 25 pounds, you can put a full length stock on there and then undo one bolt, and boom, you have an NRL Hunter setup with maybe like a 8-inch, 12-inch forend to take some weight off. You can swap out, you can do AR buffer tube stocks, you can do the folding stocks, like on the SIGs and stuff that just mount to Picatinny. You can change your AR grips, you can do your standard style grip. It is insane what you can put on chassis now.
And here I thought just buying a Walmart bolt action gun was enough to suffice.
Well, so when you get into that, it's less, it's not that it won't suffice, it's that you start getting into way more customization, where you know exactly what you're going to want to be able to put a bullet where you want it. So things that otherwise wouldn't matter if we're just at 200 yards throwing 5.56 downrange, it's not the same as me trying to tag a plate at, or like a reduced C zone at 1,000 yards. Like, it's the fundamentals are going to be different, because I can wail on an AR-15 pretty effectively at 200 yards, where maybe not so much at 1,000 yards with a 6.5, because first of all, I'm not that good, and 1,000 is the furthest I've ever shot. So let me just preface that here. So I'm not very good at this.
That's a far shot.
Well, so relatively speaking, it's not really. I mean, and then on top of that, this isn't, I'm not putting it on paper, I'm not grouping it. This is just, just tag and steel. That's it. So, it's
yeah, go ahead.
Like certain things, like the connection to the rifle, become more and more personal and more important, especially if you're doing it a lot. It makes it easier, from my understanding thus far.
What's the farthest you've shot tactical?
Just about 500 yards with that 243. And we were just banging on steel with some 75 grain VMAXs, nothing spectacular. So, but I want to get out and go do further stuff. Like I said, this was mostly had the idea of taking it out and doing coyotes with it. This wasn't meant as a precision based setup from the start, but it certainly could be very easily. But yeah, no, you get into so many details with bolt guns that you have to, with an AR, you can build a recce build, right? Or you can build a general purpose build.
Right.
16-inch 5.56 or 6 arc is coming more on the scene now for general purpose builds. With bolt guns, that connection that Bryce was talking about is so important, and part of that is purpose behind the rifle. You can have a rifle that's okay at everything, but not very good at a lot of things.
Like the jack of all trades, but the master of none.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
I think you definitely start seeing an understanding. It's kind of like you can see the fundamental understanding. So the people that kind of get what the point of that is, or the point of precision guns and bolt guns, when you start talking to them about calibers that aren't 6.5 Creedmoor, 308, or even 308, 5.56, 45 and 9mm, and it's like, oh, what's the point of 25 Creedmoor? What's the point of, or what is even like any of these calibers? It's like, oh, like 6BR, 6 Dasher. You start getting into these calibers, and you can start. I'm not saying that any of these calibers do anything different. I'm not trying to have a caliber debate. It's interesting how you can approach a bolt gun completely differently than you can an AR-15, even though fundamentally they're just shooting bullets. But it's how you approach it and how you appreciate it, and there's a lot. It's so cool how much you can put into it. I like it. It's fun.
You get more of an appreciation, I guess, for the actual sport of using long range. I'm feeling.
I think
100%.
It's more of a raw connection to bullets. Like it's kind of like talking about, like, car guys talk about manual transmissions, or it's like being a part of the gun, like running the bolts and getting into ballistics, getting to understand your barrel, like, doing the whole. It's an experience, I guess, would be the best way of putting that. Maybe
is it?
I don't know.
Is it erotic, perhaps?
It's I did not say that. What I said is it's
the way you're
experience.
talking. The way you're talking about it sounds like it's the 50 Shades of Bolt.
I mean, it's something. So in terms of 243, it was hand loading, it was cost, it was coyotes. What's the next step for you? What are you thinking?
So currently I'm building a 280 Ackley, which is going to be a big game. This is going to be a little bit more geared towards precision, but mostly it's going to be geared towards big game hunting. I will probably fire form because you still get a bullet
like
down
280
range
Roberts or
at
something.
That point. 280 Remington.
Can you fire form Remington? I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right.
No, you're good.
Cool.
So for the audience, fire foreman context.
Here, I'll take you. I'll take you through what a 280 Ackley
Let's start from the top. Yeah, let's start from the top. Let's start with the parent is, and then we can talk about Ackley improved, and then we can talk about 7mm, and we'll go from there. So let's start from the top. Give me a reason, and let's go.
280 Ackley. The big overall is it's about 100 to 150 feet per second behind 7mm Rem mag, but you're using a standard bolt face. So you're not getting a Magnum cartridge, so you don't get that Magnum recoil, which is really nice.
Okay.
And it's not belted.
And it's not belted, which is really nice. The Granddaddy is 30-06. And the reason I did Granddaddy instead of parent is because the parent cartridge is 280 Remington, which most people have never heard of, which is you take a 30-06 and you neck it down to 7mm. Same shoulder angle and everything. I believe the neck might be bumped back a little bit, but I'm not exact on that. And then you give it the old Ackley treatment, which was made famous by P.O. Ackley, gunsmith in the 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
So you give it a 40-degree shoulder. So you give it a really nice tight shoulder, or sharper shoulder, sharper than like a 6.5 Creedmoor. 6.5 Creedmoor is like a 30-degree shoulder. I'm pretty sure. So
They have
way
different
sharp.
degrees. You can do the full Ackley as it were, which is 40. Right? It's just 40 degrees, I think. But like, there's like 30, 35, but like, yeah.
But yeah,
35, I think.
The Ackley process is kind of what inspired like the 6.5 cartridges. If you'd looked at them now,
it's
and then
granddaddy, the modern process, right?
Yep. Because
so what's the benefit to what
that sharp shoulder?
It's capacity, from my
shoulders.
understanding, and it's burn efficiency, I think, maybe.
Yeah, it has something
But
to do
mostly
with burn
capacity.
efficiency. Yeah, that capacity comes from that shoulder being wider out, so it straightens out the case body. P.O. Ackley was a big fan of making it almost parallel, like as straight as you can, but still able to extract the cartridge.
Okay.
And this was one of his biggest improvements because, like I said, it's only 100 feet per second behind 7mm Rem mag. And quite frankly, most of the custom builds nowadays, you can get very, very close, like 50 to 25 feet per second behind.
It's also supposed to be
you
a
do
lot
some
more
stuff.
efficient too, right?
Yep, less powder, but you're getting those great performance. The one
Now,
thing that
real quick, let me just let me preface this. When we say 280 and 7mm, and we keep saying them interchangeably, they're effectively interchangeable. They're slinging the same bullets. They're doing the same thing. It's just different cartridge designs. That's if that's confusing.
Yeah, it's
Thank
just
you.
naming
I was
convention.
slightly confused. Now I'm not.
So we're talking about like raw bullet diameter, and then Europe versus American, and then we're kind of using it interchangeably because the calibers are all named random things because, reasons.
Yeah. Don't even get me started on if you want a fun little Wikipedia rabbit hole, go look at how many times 280 Remington had its name changed.
Jesus.
Yeah, I just listened to a podcast about that. It was like 3 or 4 times. It was like Remington Express, and then it was like, and then they changed it entirely again.
Yep. And then they went all the way originally back to 280 Remington, which is where it's at today.
The original name.
Full circle.
I love that. Well, it's funny. So the two, it's funny, both real just kind of tangentially, both the first hunting bullets I ever slung out of a barrel at a coyote was a 6 and a 7. So that's kind of fun. It was a 7 Rem mag, which I actually have in my corner. Yes. And it gave me a black eye, so that was fun. That hurt.
6.5s get all the credit right now, right? For being super high BC, low recoiling, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But in the hunting world, 7 and 30 go way back to being the two big cartridges. So a lot of the people that are in the AR world might not be as familiar with how popular 7mm cartridges really are. But they have a lot of bullet options out there, which is why I'm choosing that. But the one thing that holds 280 Remington and 280 Ackley back, if you're not doing a custom barrel, is that twist rate. But custom barrel options nowadays, you can get a 1 in 8 twist. Yeah, 1 in 8 twist, which is like 7 PRC twist rate. So you can still sling the heavy bullets.
Okay.
Which is nice. So.
And 7 PRC is also one of those modern hot rodded millimeter slinging devices.
Yeah, 7 PRC is just bringing 7 Rem mag into 2025.
Oh,
just like 300 PRC is just 300 Win mag for the modern day.
No,
not belted.
300 PRC takes 300 Win mag and puts it in the ground.
Tell him.
There you go.
Tell him, Tactical. Tell him.
300 PRC
even better.
is an ICBM. It
Intercontinental.
Love it.
I forget the exact stats, but Vortex Nation has a really good podcast on people's perception of 300 PRC and why it's not just 300 Win mag. So maybe go listen to that after this.
I said updated. I didn't say it was just. I said it was an updated way to deliver big ass heavy 30 cal rounds.
So is 1 in 8 the optimum twist then for the 280 Ackley?
We're learning a lot more about twist rates. 8.6 Blackout is doing that right now, teaching us what too fast really looks like. But yeah, 1 in 8.
That's the only thing it's teaching us. You're right.
Yeah, it's the only thing. That could be a podcast on its own.
I was thinking about that actually.
Just
talk about 338 and
8.6.
8.6. That'd be fun.
But yeah, no.
Continue. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I prefer faster twist rates when possible. If I could get my hands on a 1 in 7 7mm barrel, I absolutely would run that instead. People have these concerns about your super lightweight bullets over stabilizing. There's some dubious material on that, FUD lore. Let's just go with that. About that,
I prefer that.
Applied Ballistics has done some solid posts on why that may not be the case as much as people think it is. But anyway, so that's my current build that I'm working on. I'm waiting on the Criterion barrel right now. So I have the action, I have everything except the chassis and the barrel.
Ooh, what chassis?
So what was the so let's just kind of talk about the build then. So what was the oh my goodness, I can't talk. What is the action on?
Remington 700. You just got to go classic. There's nothing beats it.
Fair.
Is it just standard? Did you do any modifications to the bolt, ejector, anything like that?
Nope. I just got a standard long action. The one thing that is going to be not so standard is the bottom metal. Bottom metal, for the viewers, is what interacts with your magazine. So on an AR lower, your magazine well's built in. So you don't have options for different magazines, right? Maybe polymer versus metal, but that's it.
Yeah.
With bolt guns, you get into bottom metal. You have so many different options. You have bottom metal that takes AR mags for those cartridges. You have bottom metal that takes various different ones. So you could take like the 308P mags. You can take specific ones for the Ruger Americans, for the Mossbergs, for whatever factory mags. But the big
and
upcomer
the
right now is...
Oh yeah.
I'm not familiar with the L96.
It's just the Arctic Warfare, the AW mags, the double stack.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the second pattern. So like AICS and then AW mags.
Yep. And that's what I was about to mention. The forerunner right now is the AICS mags. If you're swapping out your bottom metal, that's quickly becoming the standard, whether it's polymer or metal. But when you do a long action cartridge like 30-06, you split into more camps. You have to do SIP length or standard length or lots of different things, which gives you more or less room in the mag for longer cartridges.
Wow.
And a lot of that, I mean, when you start getting bullets more, I mean, with magazines along that line, it's just kind of, it seems to be trial and error. A lot of the calibers that people are shoving into those magazines are like, well, this one kind of worked in this one, and this one worked in this one, especially for like the long actions. That was kind of interesting looking at that.
Well, that's kind of the fun of it, like figuring out what calibers work and what don't.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I don't know if anybody remembers my 2011 rant or if that currently is out, but it was me bitching and moaning about magazines, and it's bolt actions is worse. It's so much worse.
It is
especially
so much
when
worse.
You start getting into like
the
non-standardized cartridges where you're just trying to load from brass or hand loading or anything like that. Oof.
Definitely not 280 Ackley.
Can I just be ignorantly bliss and just have my Walmart Savage? What is it?
There's
Savage.
I guess that's part of this is like there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's also really cool to get like super hyper nerdy.
Yeah,
I think that's super fun.
I'm not trying to talk down on anybody that really does just go out and buy barrel action chassis and is just done with it.
Yep.
That's what my 243 build was.
Well, so actually I have to say this. I'm not even there. I'm still running a stock Bergara. So I am no further along in this than have 6.5. Yay. I haven't even gotten a chassis. I'm still running the stock. It's the stock Ridgeline.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
The
just
Bergara
like the
chassis are
regular
great.
Remington 7. Yeah, I'm excited. I like the idea of eventually just grabbing an action wrench and then spinning that barrel off and throwing a prefit on, or like a Remage or something like that.
Yeah, Remages are great. Remage, for anybody that doesn't know, it uses a barrel nut system, kind of like an AR. When you screw your barrel in, allows for quick changes, which is really nice compared to your standard shouldered barrel, which you have to just crank down on it with like 50 foot-pounds or something like that.
Jesus.
Yeah, and then you basically have to hope the prefit, ideally, it's good enough quality that it headspaces correctly. The benefit with like a Rimage is you can basically set your, benefit and I guess downside is that you can set your own headspace. So go, no go, and figure out if it's right. But with that barrel nut, you can set that. But that's also probably more for people that are more concerned about spinning barrels on and off. Like if you're running a bullet or running a cartridge that fries barrels like every 1,000 rounds, like a 6 Creed or something that's really just screaming long bullets. So
25-06 for the hipsters.
22 250.
There it is.
Just like absolutely puking your rifling out the end.
Yeah,
so
every 1,000 rounds.
Yeah, so that's really advantageous for that, because you can talk to people and they're like, oh, well, it's like you say 1,000 rounds, and 1,000 rounds to an AR shooter and 1,000 rounds to a bolt gun shooter, the conversation isn't the same. I'm not sitting there plugging 300 rounds in a day on a bench or doing through a bolt gun, period. Like I'm not, or not at least the same one, because I don't want to be just cooking that gun. But on an AR, I'm not, I don't know. I definitely have dunked it in water to cool them down. I would never do that to anything I pretended to have more any kind of precision like application.
Yeah, they're like general purpose use and abuse for the most part of ARs. And then the bolt guns are more like you don't want to do more than maybe one box at a range.
Oh, I'm shooting like 5 to 10 rounds at most and then letting it cool. Like
yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, you start treating the barrel is like that's I don't know how to explain it. Like it's the utmost importance. That's the whole point of the whole thing. It's like it shoots really slow and it doesn't carry a lot of bullets, but the whole point of it is because it shoots really accurately. So don't absolutely cook the thing that makes it accurate.
Well, like you said, we treat them as consumables. AR guys might not ever change their barrel ever. Like that's how many rounds they'll put through it.
Guys that don't like actual shooters that are putting like tens of thousands of rounds probably understand that. But again, that's still not the same. It's still not even really the same realm.
Yeah, your PRS shooter will change barrels 1 to 2 times a year. Just because you're doing 200 rounds in a match over a weekend, and then, well, maybe not 200, maybe like 100, but then all the training leading up to that, you're doing 50 rounds, and that's not including load development. That's just actually getting on like those barriers and practicing your shots and stuff like that. So
now, mind you, I was talking to my wife about this. I was trying to explain to her why it makes sense for me or anybody else to try to get into a sport like that. And I was trying to rationalize with it. And she's an equestrian. And so I just turned it into horses. And I was like, okay, well, like there's certain things with the horses that you have that are consumable and that you expect. And the reason you risk and you pay all this money is because the potential for what you're going to win is much more than you're going to pay. Now, granted, you're always operating at a deficit because that even if you win $50,000, everybody knows you're just going to invest that back into the sport. So you're always at a deficit, but you think you're winning.
Well, that's
how I understand it anyway.
We can take that back to the Ready Man, though. Sorry to cut you off, Kevin. But
no.
Doing NRL Hunter or any of these practical precision shooting competitions, you're putting yourself into hard scenarios that you can't just normally do during training, because you can never simulate that performance adrenaline, right? That's what all the IPSC guys and USPSA guys talk about with pistol. It's the exact same thing with bolt guns. Just because you can get behind and shoot 1,000 yards steel with no pressure doesn't mean you can at a PRS comp or a NRL hunter comp or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So real quick, we're 30 minutes into this, but let's just real quick and dirty, NRL versus PRS. PRS is a lot more kind of USPSA style, and NRL is more. It's not that.
There's nothing.
No, it's a different game. It's I would say if you had to do one or the other, NRL is it's super compelling. You have to hunt for the targets. There's planning. Yeah,
wow.
I think I haven't really tried to do PRS, but I found an NRL match near me, and that's the one I'm kind of settling on. That's more my speed, I think.
Is that more like realistic, I guess, to like situations you find yourself in?
The theme, so the steel is it's animal. It's a lot of animal steel, and it's as the correct size of the animal. They're different. So one could be facing you. They're all different sizes. They're hidden. So there's I'm pretty sure there's flags and there's indications like where you have to look between there. And then you have to spot all of them in X amount of time. You need to get on the gun. You need to shoot them. And then you need to transition between the however many. And pretty sure there's penalties for for overshooting. But either way, the idea is it isn't, where everything is. You go and plug away like in PRS, where it's a known match. You watch a bunch of other dudes do it, or a known stage. You watch a bunch of other dudes do it. And then you go, okay, well, I'll just do that, or some variation of that. It's effectively a blind stage, and you go in and it's hunt.
Cool.
And
both
hunter.
Are good though.
So
if you're going to do one or the other,
I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm saying one is more interesting to me initially. Sorry.
I feel like PRS has a lower barrier to entry, but both are good because both have. If you're more of the preparedness kind of guy, PRS is probably going to be your jam. They have a lot more setting up on barriers and that kind of stuff. But if you're looking for practice as a hunter, which is kind of an odd sentence to say, go do NRL hunter, because those matches are insane and will put you into more extreme positions than you might find as hunting as a normal hunter, because they're trying to make it harder and harder on
it's definitely way more exaggerated, especially with like positional stuff for sure. Yeah.
So before we fell into the rabbit hole of all that, what chassis are you getting for your 280 Accolade?
So let's go back to the build.
Let him speak, Bryce. Bryce, let him speak.
So I think that's what ultimately made us want to do this podcast. I am 3D printing the chassis. So I know a lot of people are going to instantly be like plastic bad to me, but I'm taking a couple of precautions. So I'm using what's called an aluminum bedding block. If you took your action off of a lot of your synthetic stocks or even some of your wood stocks, you'll see that there's an aluminum block, or at least bits of aluminum embedded in it. And that helps with the absorbing of the recoil and giving it like a much more firm foundation to sit in. As well as I'm using pre-made bottom metal. I forget who I got it from. I think it's Pure Precision bottom metal. So I'm more designing it around those things, but I'm trying to make it as modular as possible. That being said, I am looking at another chassis for it to build as more of a heavy rifle for like precision comps like NRL Hunter and stuff, from a company called Outlier. They're a sister company to Arkin Optics, if anybody knows them. And they have a modular chassis for about $100. Takes AR grips, takes AR buffer tubes for the stock, and it makes it super easy to drop in. And
have you looked at Bravo or I'm sorry, KRG?
Yes, but if you recall, I'm a poor college student. I look at KRG and I drool.
But if you recall, the outliers are scalable, and it ends up like about $300 after you build it out anyway. Just saying.
Or you 3D print a forend and your grip and your stock.
This is true. The plot twist I wasn't expecting. Nerd's gonna nerd.
So I'm looking at that as a backup, or just an alternative. Taking advantage of that modularity, right? Give me the base to start with and then build it out from there.
Okay. Oh, that's super interesting.
That's a 3D print. Like, I'm very curious.
I would be interested to see I mean, 280 actually. I mean, that's kissing, like, it's not a short action magnum, but I mean, it's slinging some bullets.
Out. So
it's pretty heavy.
Anybody familiar with the 7mm WSM or 7mm SOM short action ultra mag? It pretty much.
No one. Okay, so people might know the SOM. They definitely don't know the WS. Do they even still make that ammo anymore?
They don't make 7mm Winchester short mag. They do still make 300 Winchester short mag.
Yes,
and I saw a single box of 270 Winchester short mag at Shields.
Oh, hey, Lapua just started making brass for 300 short mag, so I think that's going to start getting more and more support for
it. Vortex, sorry for plugging another podcast, but Vortex just did a really good video
I talk about other contact people all the time.
Maybe they'll talk about us in turn.
Maybe, but they did a Winchester. They called it a super magnum, but they built a Winchester short mag on a long action, and they're flinging 225 grain bore riders. Once again, go watch their video. They'll explain it better than I can. But they're flinging big, heavy bullet fast.
Was it? I think we talked about this, but it was a 6.7 Power Stroke. I think that was on the Hornady podcast.
No, it wasn't on the Hornady podcast. But yeah, so 6.7 Power Stroke is a 7mm PRC neck down to 6mm. And you want to talk about a barrel burner? I'd be surprised if you get 500 rounds out of it.
Oh man!
But dang, like people talk about 243 and 6mm Creedmoor might not be enough for Moose. 6.7 Power Stroke is enough for whatever is in front of it.
It would vaporize. I mean, it's what it was 4,000 FPS, right? It was something stupid. Like it was an obscene.
Was it a 75 grain bullet or something like that?
Maybe. Yeah, it was upsetting. It was, well, even the video. So I watched a video of a guy talking about it, and he was like, I had to try it. And then it's because normally when you hear like a rounds fire for like it's putting, this was bang. Like it was the bang and the ping so fast, and it was so violent. It was upsetting, and it was very fun to watch.
All right. Wow. I've got the stats for the people that built the rifle. It is shooting a 95 grain Berger Classic Hunter, which is a pretty standard precision round at this point, out of a 24-inch barrel at 3,800 feet per second.
Jesus.
I wasn't really exaggerating that much.
No, you weren't that far off.
Sounds like
also for the record, if you're wondering why you would not use that in competition, why would you not use that in competition? In these particular competitions,
recoil so bad.
Well, so not only are you going to come off the target, but there's also a speed limit, and I'm pretty sure NRL probably has the same thing. But no, it has to be standardized cartridge. They have to have hunting ammo, right?
No. So they have they have what's called a power factor. Same idea as USPSA. It's grain weight times velocity, and there is a speed limit. There's a minimum speed as well as a maximum speed, I believe. The maximum I'm not sure on.
Doesn't the caliber have to be sold Doesn't the caliber have to be sold as a hunting caliber?
I don't believe so. It does have to be a minimum of 6.5, but they didn't write that into the rules. They just wrote it in terms of the minimum power factor. They made it so that way a 6mm cartridge would never meet the power factor without being so obscene. But I haven't done the calculations on 6.7 power stroke. Whenever this podcast posts, I will have that number to see if 6.7 power stroke meets NRL hunter regulation.
That'd be hilarious.
That would be amazing. I feel like that they would not like that on their steel. It probably would be okay, but then the match director would be like, no, absolutely not.
There's a match near me, not NRL Hunter. It's just a local club. They don't allow any Magnum cartridges. They do allow 6.5 PRC, but a speed limit of it's either 3,000 or 3,200 feet per second. Because anything faster than that will take a chunk out of your steel.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, you should just go out there with just like a cheeky 300 Win Mag and a slap round, and then just one round, and then just leave.
Honestly, that'd probably do less damage than the 6.7 power stroke at some distance.
I think you might be right. Instead of just burning a clean hole, it's just absolutely bananaing the whole thing.
I want to see.
Oh God, that's funny.
Because I want to see a video of someone having like an old junk car, and they're like pulling it with a tow cable or something when the rotor running, and they just shoot it with a 6.7 power stroke. One to the engine block.
What I love about kind of coming from like the tactical world and the world that Kevin and I come from, the defensive and kind of the military and video games is going into the raw data and the well, maybe not that, but the more well, it's more about throwing bullets down range and some of the information, kind of nerding about like how effectively we can do this with it. I like the kind of the NASCAR feel where it's like, some of these actions are being proven, the bullet technology is being proven. I get excited about calibers now that I wouldn't have otherwise cared about, like 25 Creedmoor. That was slightly more interesting than it would have been otherwise, or like any of the other interesting bullet calibers that are coming out.
I can't get behind 25 Creedmoor. I'm sorry.
Oh, I wouldn't say get behind it, but I care about it more than I would have otherwise not.
Quarter bores are icky, but I won't.
There's a precedent for quarter bores, and I will hear none of that, sir.
God.
Okay, that'll have to go. Now I do want to promise this, but I won't promise your audience. We will have a super nerdy, probably won't get too many views, cartridge talks, basically.
I'm okay with that. I take that as a promise, sir.
I don't think there's enough adult beverages out there
Kevin.
for me.
Kevin's going to need help for that episode.
But because I love cartridges. Working at the gun range, like I loved cartridges, and it was my coworkers hated it. But we'd had guns come in all the time, like people inheriting guns in like 250 Savage, and I got to see one 7mm Remington Express, which was awesome because that's 280 Remington. That's one of the renames. We'd have all these obscene cartridges. I had to learn Spanish because so many cartridges would come in 9mm, and then most people are familiar. My 9mm Kurz is basically 380. The Spanish also named all their stuff like 9mm, and then whatever the Spanish, Portuguese, or local word for short is, because we'd have some of those inherited, like World War II, World War I guns come in.
Maybe some Argentinian ones. Who knows?
Oh, maybe. But yeah, no, we'll have to do a cartridges podcast because.
So it's interesting. Our conversation, Kevin has a book for that as well. So the conversation we had on Discord a few months ago is actually what kicked me off in I was like, I really got it, because I think we were talking about 300 where I was telling you that I was looking at 300 Win Mag, and you were like, oh, well, okay, this, that, and the other. And we were talking about availability, and you were like, look at 300 short. And I was like, okay, looking at that. And then I just got down to this rabbit hole, I was like, okay, I need to start maybe opening my eyes a little bit, and then kind of off to the races. So you
can
sir,
see
are you
clearly.
to blame? Actually,
Good.
good. So I think it's beautiful that this is how we've started that conversation.
Yeah, no, I love cartridges. 7 SOM, probably my favorite cartridge. Why I didn't build one? Well, the standard bolt face was cheaper than the Magnum bolt face.
Yeah.
When I was building this,
enough.
and 280 Ackley gets me that performance, and I can find it on the shelf. So
I think short action magnums are definitely very compelling. They're super
they're the
cool.
future. They're where
I agree.
everything's heading towards. Because
Yeah,
6.5 PRC isn't a true magnum. Depends on who you ask. My opinion, not a true magnum.
Okay.
But it's quite there. It's very close. And
I think it's close enough, but still lets you like track it better than a true short action magnum. Like it's got enough to do the things and still be get that PRC-ness. I don't know, the essence of what I want from it.
Well, the big problem with
it's not a short action magnum, but it's close enough for me to like it.
The only reason it's not is because once you get that that small in diameter, your bullets to be high BC get so long.
Right.
Well, not really so long, but like you want that weight behind it because that's the benefit.
It's the weight of it, right? That's what makes it is the 7 millimeters typically. So okay, so why is there not? We need a 25 SOM. That's what this is.
No, I mean there is.
Needs to happen.
It's wildcatted. It is.
Do it. 25 SOM. Damn it.
25 SOM.
No,
what?
I don't like the quarter bores. I think they do nothing good compared to the cartridges on either side of them. If you want a hunting, go 6.5. If you want precision, go 6 mil. But 6.5 or 25 does neither of those well.
Is there any improved benefits for like barrel life or anything like that with the 25?
Over 6 mil, yes, but it is worse than 6.5, which is why 25-06 sucks so much in terms of barrel life. Is you get this hot rod 25 cal, but that diameter is so much smaller than 30-06 that now you're really burning it pretty quick.
Yeah.
So 25 Creedmoor is the most compelling of any quarter bore that I've seen, though.
I think Hornady's producing a lot of really compelling cartridges, but we don't have to get in that particular rabbit hole, especially since we're working on an hour here. But I definitely want to get to that cartridge episode. We're definitely going to have to do that. So, but I do want to kind of bookend this conversation really quickly and get to the second part of the conversation.
Well, it's the second part, Bryce.
The second part is Kevin asking us questions for clarification, and then us talking about the things that we're interested in, we want to talk about, and guns we're building or touching or thinking about, and then plugging stuff.
I was so engrossed in the conversation. I don't have any. I didn't write down any questions.
I would say Baofeng actually.
So with the bottom
he's much
metals,
better about going retroactively going. Oh,
you don't
I need
have
to
explain
explain
that
because
I'm.
Well, he gives what I've been trying to get you to do for years.
I know
he's
context. So good at that. He's so good at that,
and not just ramble on.
Sorry.
So bottom metal is super interesting, and you can go down a nerd hole. In my opinion, if you're not reloading or you don't have a specific use case, get something like Magpul just came out with a bottom metal for the Remington 700s and maybe the Ruger American. I'm not exactly sure, but I know they have them for the Remington 700s. Just buy that. Run standard AICS mags or the Magpul AICS P mags and do that. Just run those because you will be able to run all your factory ammo. You don't have to worry about compatibility issues. You're good to go. If you want to nerd out, then be careful and be very, very cautious because you can get yourself into some holes that you don't want to because nothing is standardized. It is not as easy as an AR where it's, oh yeah, just buy this magazine and go. Once you get past non-factory magazines.
I think when we talk about this, I would say moving forward in conversations, we can pretty much preface this by saying this is not an AR. So don't like when we're talking about stuff like this is not popping 2 pens and then just maybe an AR wrench and just plugging something in. It's not like that.
I've been building this rifle in my head for probably close to a year. Not knowing the cartridge exactly, but picking literally everything else except for the cartridge. Picking the action, picking bottom metal, picking magazine, based on my use case.
It's funny. Kevin and my wife have both been listening to be doing basically the same thing. Not just that, but I mean, specifically, I'm talking about the bolt action. I'm sure both of them were probably sick of that.
My wife also has been listening to me about
I'm very interested.
So many guns, many different guns.
That basically my wife is like, wait, she's trying to like take mental notes. She's like, is this the same gun with it? And I'm like, no, this is a different one. She's like, okay, you're gonna have to wait, what?
Okay, so Tactical, once you get all this built together, are you gonna have a little teaser video for us?
Yeah, I'll send you guys picture. I mean, you guys privately will probably be some of the first people to see it, right? But yes, I'll definitely be posting this. Because yeah, I'm already buying like dies. I've got to get no-go gauges, like Bryce mentioned earlier, which whole topic in and of itself.
We might have to make this a return thing.
You know, one time
you can no-go one time.
You can
300 blackout in one time.
Oh no. You're kidding.
Okay, once.
Did you do that already?
Just once.
Oh,
this was an oopsie for another time. I will tell the story eventually.
It was an oopsie.
Let's try to get this under an hour, maybe. Okay. What?
You're funny.
God bless.
Real quick, what guns I'm working on. I ditched my 450 Bushmaster idea. I think I'm leaning towards a 458 SOCOM feeding issues. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Those who understand. 450 Bushmaster does not feed out of a semi-auto. So I'm leaning towards SOCOM because I found some cheap cast bullets.
Oh. Well, that's really the only reason you need. You found the bullets. Build the gun, man. Do it. Awesome. Well, all right. So, okay. We're definitely going to have you back on for another series on this. This is great. I love this.
That was
this is
more
awesome.
of a legal thing because I live in one of the terrible states.
Yeah, that was another thing we're definitely going to have you back on for we'll talk about terrible states and some of the creativity that is therein.
Not creativity, just the ingenuity that's driving.
Creativity I wasn't trying to be derogatory. I'm genuinely impressed. That's not me being, especially when we talk about bullet design for hunters, getting around laws for straight wall cases and stuff. It's super cool. So
yes.
Yeah, I thought he'd like that. So we're definitely going to have Mr. Tactical Baofeng back on. Kevin, before we move on to him plugging his thing, are you working on any guns? Oh, do you have updates for Cobble Glock?
It just works. I did get a British weapon kit finally. Load billing.
Oh, yes.
And I haven't set up. I realized pretty early on that cross drawing, albeit not the best idea for a pistol, is the only option I have on that weapon. Otherwise, it just runs into my.
You can't do a belt kit setup?
Well, the whole setup is on a belt. It's like a belt, and it has straps to help on the weight.
Okay, so it's more like a jungle rig.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, wait a minute. I tried to put it on my normal right side, and it kept running into everything, or I had to crook my arm and stuff, so I put it cross draw. And I'm like, well, I mean, if I'm grabbing my pistol, if I have this set up, I'm already having a really bad day. Because the primary setup is for rifle and rifle mags.
It's interesting. We're definitely we're gonna have to follow that saga, Kevin. You're gonna have to update us on that.
You just have to get a chest rig finally, Bryce.
Yeah, I know. I want to try I have some stuff I want to try, but
just pick one.
I keep getting inspirations for other things, and I have been working on a little 10.3-inch gun that's been kind of fun.
Oh,
I've been really congested lately, and it's been helping with that.
Are you referencing the dare I say hurricane gun?
Yes, the hurricane gun for an episode that we haven't released yet. But just kind of briefly, I built a 10.3 pistol using the CAC Mini mil-spec buffer system and a chopped down SBA3 brace and a kind of chopped down A2 grip, a la the kind of the CAC PDW kind of style. And it was supposed to be really compact. I haven't really owned anything that small, and I've never really gone out of my way for anything under 16 inches. So this has been kind of interesting to experiment with it. And just as a quick update, I did track the ejection, and it's spicy.
Oh, well, what is it? You can't just say that. What is it?
It's
give us
not
a number.
forward ejecting rifle.
Oh, give us the number.
But it's at a strong 2 o'clock.
Wow,
it's kicking them pretty hard. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to play with some buffers. It's a little spicy.
You're getting the case separation territory.
Well, so I picked up some of the brass, and all the primers are flat, like as flat as
we'll
flat
have to
as
talk
I could
about
be.
that on the cartridge podcast, is why primers are not a good indicator. So
yeah.
Ooh.
So I just something. Well, I'm basic. Okay, so before I get too far on that, what I will say is other rifles do not flatten those primers, those specific primers. That's all I'm saying.
We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait till the cartridge.
We'll have to hear about the second part. But yeah, it's fun. I like that rifle or that pistol. Sorry, it's a pistol. But I don't think we have anything else. So as a real quick kind of like spoiler, at least at some point, definitely buying that 32 Ultra Carry and getting getting a red dot mount for it. I'm very excited.
And when he does, there'll be an episode about it.
There will be an episode, and I'm sure there will be a bunch of video or pictures of me drooling about it.
32 Super Carry or 32 Ultra Carry? I just don't want
Ultra Carry, the Smith & Wesson J frame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not the 30 Super Carry. No, the 32 Ultra Carry.
I've met one person that carries a 32 Super Carry, or is it 32 30. Super Carry? 30 Super
30.
Carry.
30, yeah.
Yeah,
by the way, I actually kind of think that's an interesting caliber, by the way.
It's not, but
I think it is.
Save it for the cartridge.
I think it's interesting. The cartridge episode. We'll save it. So, you know what? Thank you so much for coming on. We're obviously going to have you back on. Tell us where to find you and things to look for. Plug yourself and things to look forward to.
Shill and plug.
I'm on Instagram at thetacticalbaofeng. My DMs are always open. I try to get back to people as quickly as I can. So I'm usually pretty good. If you have hypothetical scenarios, you say, hey, this is my situation. I need help setting up radios. I need help setting up comms, whatever. I'm always happy to help you figure that out. I don't just give people the rote answer. And stop buying Baofengs.
Coming from the Tactical Baofeng, that might be a little confusing.
That kick right in the testicles, sir.
Go on my page. I have a couple
change it to the
Spiteful
Baofeng. That should be your name.
Yeah, that would be better. That'd be funny.
Only other plug, follow Sharkshot on Instagram. He does great tactical art. So if you need that kind of stuff, go follow him. He's been a great friend and he's helped support the page a lot. So
that's awesome. Yeah, and he's done some stickers for us too. Or not, we haven't sold them, but we have. Yes, we would also endorse him. We like him very much. So thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, and we're gonna roll the outro. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Very cool. You should like and subscribe
on Facebook and Instagram,
and Twitter and Spotify. You should listen there too. If you
aren't they listening to this on Spotify right now?
Well, they could be, but there's also YouTube podcasts. So all of the places.
We always forget where we post this stuff.
We don't know where this is. Thank you for listening wherever you're listening to, but you should also like the other places that we are. And
Who are we and what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know how we got here. So thank you for letting us talk directly into your ear holes.
Right to the brain.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Adios.